Hello and welcome to Military Mantra. Today we have Wing Commander Dinesh sir, who is a former Air Force veteran and an aircraft crash investigator. And in this podcast, we'll try to understand what goes after an air crash and what are the various processes. We'll also speak about few of the recent incidences in this podcast. So thanks a lot, sir, for coming here and welcome.
Thank you for this podcast and an opportunity to speak to the people about aviation.
तो सर मेरा पहला सवाल आपसे ये है कि 2026 में हम हैं, टेक्नोलॉजी इज सो एडवांस्ड, why do we still face so many air crashes that we see?
टेक्नोलॉजी से खाली वर्कलोड और सेफ्टी इम्प्रूव होता है, लेकिन इन सब के पीछे जो आदमी है, जो पायलट है, वो सबसे ज़्यादा अहम इज द मेन पर्सन. So it boils down eventually to decision making. So howsoever sophisticated an aircraft is, if the decision making is not robust, safety is always compromised.
Got it. And so if you could also describe, for example, if an aircraft has crashed, what are the first 24 hours look like in that spot? What does happen there?
So the first 24 hours are about the immediate steps that are required. And the first and the most important step is survival of the people who have crashed. So rescue and search is the first step, and that is not the stage where anyone is even thinking of investigation. The next step that we follow is the securing of the site, and the third step that comes is the investigation part. So these are basically the need-based steps and not the hierarchy-based steps.
Okay. And if you could also, put light on when does the role of an AIB or an ICAO or DGCA or any other local authority comes in place? Is there an order or who does what role here?
Oh yes. In fact, accident processes are very regularly rehearsed in state level by the disaster people as well as by the airport. So each person in this has got a definite role. So we'll start with the first person. So whenever an aircraft crashes, the first responder is always the local people who are around that place. So they are the ones who immediately retrieve the people who are alive and give them the first aid. And within no time, usually if it's not at a very remote place, the fire brigade and the police reach. Their role is more towards crowd control and trying to assist these people in getting the survivors out and transporting them onto a hospital. And of course, the firefighters try to control the fire, which is a damage control measure. And once that is over, we have an organization in every district, which is the district disaster management team. They are headed by the district magistrate usually. They, along with the senior officers of the district administration, would reach that place. The advantage of these people coming is they can garner a lot of resources, which are under various departments, like depending on the crash area. If you have trees there and you need to cut them, so you need the forest department, you need a bulldozer, or you need a JCB and a gas cutter. So those resources they can get. They are also trained for this purpose for each of the specialized procedures there, and they do it very quickly. And if it's a very large scale thing, they also requisition the support from the other districts. So this all goes into the search and rescue phase. And moment all the bodies are retrieved and the survivors are put at ease, then starts what is known as the investigative phase, where the AIB and DGCA comes in. So major accidents are investigated by the AIB. They actually come in only when the site is handed over to them.
Okay.
They may do a few reconnaissance activities, taking a few photographs and trying to tag the places where the debris were there, but they actively step in only after the search and rescue phase is over, and in fact formally the site is handed over to them. Once that is done, it becomes an accident site, and there are many controls that are put at the site, and there are laid down procedures in the by the ICAO and as to how to conduct an investigation. You asked me DGCA. So DGCA does a support role in major accidents. Their role is to assist the AIB with regulatory data, like what is the hours of the aircraft and sealing of all the documents and handing over to the AIB. So all these people work in tandem, but each one of them has a role in a phased manner, and no one over tramples the other person in their duties. If this is done in this fashion, the search, rescue and investigation and the outcome of that is always a robust one.
Okay. So if you could also speak about, as a air crash investigator, how do you look at the latest crash which has happened in Baramati? How do you look at it?
First thing is we look at every accident very dispassionately. We are not driven by emotions. So there is a laid down procedure, and that is a typical procedure would be to consider every aspect, and then you eliminate each one of them and come to the more probable causes, deep dive into them and try to get to the facts of the case. Primarily this obviously, like I said, as an investigator we don't speculate, but typically in the first 3-4 days you get a sense of what went wrong. And primarily to me this seems like a landing gone wrong or an approach gone wrong. So investigators, I'm sure, will be looking into that aspect more. But having said that, the idea of every investigation is not to find out what went wrong, basically to say, if this went wrong, how is it that we can make amends so that it doesn't happen the next time. Accidents are all usually repetition in some form or the other. So I give a lot of weightage to the human factors or the psychology behind how and what pilots do, why they do it, and that is what has caused most of the accidents, more than the technical defects or for that matter the weather per se. 80% of the accidents, as you know, are basically human errors. So more of effort goes into finding out if there was any human error, and if so, what was the root cause of that and underlying factors in that.
Got it, sir. So one more thing that I want to ask is about the small airport, which people speak about, that they do not have enough infrastructure, technology, and that is where the chances of having an accident is also increased. So what do you think about that?
If you are going to an airport, if you have been cleared to go to an airport, I don't see any concerns there, because the pilots, if there is a difficult airport, if there is any challenges, they prepare for that well in advance. And the pilots are always wary of that fact that they are going into a challenging airport, and the safety or the risk margins should not be breached. So operations do happen in these sort of airports day in, day out. I can talk about Calicut, Mangalore, Patna, and these smaller airports like Baramati and all. I would raise my bar for my safety and risk assessment, and every aircraft would probably land safe. So smaller airports are not a concern if you ask from an aviation analyst point of view.
Okay. So if you could also speak about the investigation that happens for, let's say, an airliner like an Indigo or something like a private airline, a charter, how does it differ in terms of the processes that follows?
So the first thing is that the procedure for aircraft accident investigation is the same. It is guided by the ICAO Annexure 13, and it doesn't distinguish between civil airliner or a private jet. What it distinguishes between is a major accident and not the major accident. So how it would differ is the objective would be the same, the intent is the same, to find out what are the facts and how it can be avoided, a similar accident can be avoided. It would differ in certain terms, like it would have lesser publicity if it's a scheduled non-scheduled operator. The team size would be lesser, because most of the non-scheduled operating aircrafts are smaller and they are not so sophisticated. The timelines could be a little extended, because these aircraft investigation boards, they have a large number of accidents lined up, so they have to prioritize. But the end result is that all the facts would be found out either ways, whether it's a private jet or whether it's an airliner. The procedure would remain the same. The processes are the same.
Okay.
The publicity is what I think is one of the biggest difference. A major crash or an airliner crash or a crash where a politically important person is involved gets a large chunk of public media publicity, and therefore things look different from a public perspective. But for an investigator, both are the same. I always put it like this: for a doctor, whether it's a rich man who has come to his operation table or a poor man, he does it with the same sincerity that he would do for anyone else.
Got it, sir. So last time also we spoke about the various reports that comes up after the crash, like the preliminary report, then there's interim report, then there's a final report which comes up. So if you could describe what details comes in which report and what can be analyzed from them, or you can get the information from those reports.
Yeah, as you said, there are three reports that usually come out. The preliminary report is the first report. The idea of a preliminary report is to only state facts. People find it very mundane, because they would have already found those facts in the media beforehand. It's about who was a pilot, what was his experience level, where the aircraft crashed, what was the coordinates, and what was found, whether the pilot survived. So the preliminary report is essentially to only tell you the facts, nothing beyond that. Because at that point in time, even the investigators have no validated information about how it happened or why it happened. This is typically on a timeline basis. This is typically to be given within 30 days. But today you have something called Accident Investigation Bureau briefing, or in terms of what happens in US, the NTSB gives a briefing. That is basically to control, the float, the various types of speculations that go on. So they give a sense of direction on the third or the fourth day to say, this is what we have found as on date, this is what we are up to. That report typically contains the search and rescue information, and subsequently, if anything very glaring has been found where a safety advisory needs to be brought out.
Okay.
So the preliminary part I have broken down into two parts: something that happens within the first 3 days and something that has to happen in the by the 30th day. The next is the interim report. On a timeline basis, they can bring out an interim report anytime, but it is mandatory to bring out a report on the anniversary of the crash, which is a year, if you have not concluded your report by then. But on a content basis, the report basically tells you how it happened. So, yeah.
Okay.
So it will talk about the FDR validation, the CVR validation, the validation from the debris that you have found, and facts that align with what the physical evidence is, and the direction that the investigation is taking. Like I said, there are many possibilities. They narrow down into some possibilities and they try to dig deep into that. So that is the interim report. Once again, the purpose is only to keep people updated if there are any safety connotations which are in view. Typically, if there is a safety connotation, then all airlines and the designer needs to then probably implement some sort of a rectification in that or a modification in that. So the purpose is that. And finally, what comes is the final report. A final report is mandatory in civil aviation, and this report brings out all the detailed facts after validation, and it will give you the findings, the recommendations, and some of the safety measures that is required to be implemented. Never does it put blame on anyone.
Okay.
The idea is that we are only interested in the facts as to what happened and how it can be addressed, rather than the person who's involved in that, or for that matter, any organization that is involved, it is immaterial.
Okay.
What is more material is that can it be made safer? Can this accident be avoided in future? So we, from accident investigators' point of view, we have a timeline-based approach and a purpose-based approach, and both have to sync so that the investigation outcome is proper. Investigation typically can take anything more than a year. Usually major accident investigation like the Air India crash, maybe the Baramati one, will also take a similar time.
Got it, sir. Sir, from the passenger perspective, is there something that we can do for our own safety, or everything just depends on the airlines?
An aircraft is designed in such a way that most of the safety requirements are met from the maintenance, the pilot operations, the ATC. I would put it as probably more than 90%. But yes, the passenger has a very important role to play, especially when the situation goes out of control. So there are two parts to it. One is how prepared you are. So very small things like are you wearing the seat belts, because that's a safety requirement. If you're wearing your seat belts, there's a very less likelihood of you getting injured. Then are you listening to the briefing? Because you keep traveling and you feel that you are very experienced about the aircraft, but between two aircrafts of the same brand, let's say Boeing 737 and Boeing 737 Max, there are a lot of difference in the exit, the number of seatings that you have. Between airlines, there could be difference between how the seating is done. So all these are essentially, when an emergency comes up and you have to exit the aircraft, you will have it'll be a race against time, and that is where the survivability will be different. And an interesting thing that I can point out is that there is some sort of a mannerism is also that required. When you are exiting an aircraft which is being evacuated, you don't carry your bag along with you. So this is something that has got a safety connotation, but most people think that it's not something that they need to consider. And of course, now what you have, these all these unruly and disruptive passengers who drink and come. So there is some etiquette also, I think, is required. So if you can follow what the crew is telling you, what the airlines are telling you to do, that will be a great thing, because they are saying that because it has all got a safety connotation, not to take away your comfort or not to take away your joy of flying.
Got it, sir. Sir, there are always some risks which are involved, which are accepted or known to the pilot. For example, a weather condition may not be good, or we spoke about the tabletop. Some airports are tabletop, and then let's say there might be some technical issues. To what level, or how does a pilot decide, okay, is it still safe to go ahead and land, or go ahead and take off from this? So how do they make that decision?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So aviation is inherently got its own risks. So the first thing is that in this profession, be it in the civil aviation or in the military aviation, risk is a part. But what is to be understood is that risk which can be mitigated are only taken in the civil aviation. So whenever a risk is taken, the risk should be able to be mitigated or controlled, or for that matter, there should be an escape from avoiding that risk. Like for example, you're going to a tabletop runway, the weather is bad, you attempt an landing. If you cannot, that's fine. You can go to an alternate airport which has got all the facilities. So the pilots take a risk, because if you don't take risk, you'll never even be able to fly, for that matter. And usually the risk mitigation is at various levels. I can give you a few examples. One is at operational level, where you have a short runway. We spoke about it a little while ago. You have a short runway, so you do the calculations very rigidly, and based on that calculations, you make an approach to the airfield. You have braking power, the landing distances, and all that stuff. Your error of margin is reduced, so your risk margin also you keep less, and accordingly you act. Now take the example of maintenance. Incidentally, not all aircrafts are flying with everything serviceable.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are times you have let's say 3 radio sets and one radio set is unserviceable on the aircraft. The aircrafts fly. Okay, commercial aircrafts I'm talking about. But we always make sure that there is redundancy on in the aircraft, and the chances of all of them failing together is very, very remote. So there is a maintenance risk we take, there's an operational risk we take, there's a weather risk we take. So if the weather is marginal, you make an effort to go, and depending on your risk appetite, you take a decision, never ever to get into a death trap. So that's the whole idea, because you have taken off from A and you must reach B. Now there are two types of risk assessments involved in that. One is before the takeoff. The organization, the airline, does that risk management, risk assessment for you. It's a no-go decision. So if it's a go, then somebody has assessed that it is safe to take off. And once you take off, then it's an in-flight assessment, which is a pilot. And the pilot's assessment is again a go-no-go.
Okay.
So now he decides whether he is proceeding or he's diverting, whether he's returning back or he's landing at the alternate destination. So it's always a go-no-go decision that they take, and if that is the pattern in which you take a decision, safety is always ensured.
Got it.
Risk is mitigated. So I would say the risk is always there, and the pilots, the organization, the aviation stakeholders, they keep mitigating risk, and for this they keep reassessing the risk from time to time, because the risk assessment has to be an ongoing process.
Got it.
Otherwise, again, like I said, you will never be able to fly.
Got it, sir. So whenever a high profile air crash happens where there are personalities there, for example, a politician, a general, so whenever that happens, there are speculations around, sabotage being happened. So how easy or how difficult is to sabotage an aircraft or helicopter?
I don't think it is easy to sabotage an aircraft nowadays. You see the tight controls that are there at the airport on the and the standard operating procedures are there. It is not very easy to sabotage the aircraft for many reasons. But one of the what I should be explaining more is the technical part of it. There is not a single point. There is no single point of failure that you can generate in an aircraft that can crash the aeroplane. Generally speaking. So some redundancy will kick in, and it will give a sign before that to tell you that yes, something like this has happened, and most of it will manifest in the early phase, probably during the taxi or something. So it's very difficult to sabotage an aircraft with a timer put onto that. Okay. So, and if somebody is sabotaging, his main aim would be to do it sometimes in the air. So that sort of a sabotage is very difficult. But having said that, the organizations always keep the sabotage angle in mind, and the processes are made in such a way so that a sabotage is not easily possible. Coming to the investigator's point of view, well, sabotage is a sabotage analysis is always a part of his investigative procedure, especially if there are some material evidences. It's very simple. If the way the skin of the aeroplane has ruptured shows you that an explosive has been used, then you start trailing the sabotage angle. But every accident, a sabotage angle is considered, ruled out, and then moved forward.
And has this ever happened in India or in world where sabotage has happened in the past?
In India, yes. In military, I know of a few cases. In civil aviation is the Kanishka crash. The Air India 747 that crashed, that I think crashed somewhere in near UK. So what happened in that particular aircraft was that there was an IED, improvised explosive device, placed in the cargo or the baggage of the person, which exploded mid-air. And that particular accident was very properly documented, and they eventually concluded from positive evidence that it was an explosive that had
Okay.
that had been blown up, and the aircraft blew up in midair.
Okay.
And of course, to link with your previous question, yes, they found the skin was ruptured. They found the localized damages. They found so many evidences from the video footages that somebody had accessed the baggage. So at this point in time, all these resources are used to find out whether a sabotage has happened or not.
Okay, got it. Sir, whenever an air crash happens, there is also a tendency where we scapegoat the pilots who are no more. So, how do we, okay, as an investigator, how do you look at it? Because the news, they're already, speculating about it. They're going around and finding the lifestyle of the pilot, what they were interested in. Did they used to drink or not? Were they depressed or not? So, how does that impact the investigation?
So first of all, it's a very sad thing in the modern era of social media that a media trial happens. Yes, the public is looking for answers. The problem is everyone is looking for answer within the first 3 days for an aircraft accident, whereas the true answer will come only after huge amount of work, investigation, due processes, and validation, and that will take about 2 years or 1.5 year, 1 year. So the sad part is that everyone is looking for an answer, and our mind works in such a way that whatever is the easiest and what comes first to the mind is the pilot. If you look at it, they say pilot because the pilot was in control of the aircraft. So unfortunately, it's the pilot who has to bear the brunt of all the mistakes done by all the people, whether it was a loader who loaded the aircraft wrongly, whether it's the engineer who did not do a proper procedure, whether the air traffic controller who missed out. But the brunt of this whole is to be handled by the pilot in a very dynamic scenario. So obviously, it's a pilot that they look at. But we as investigators, we are not moved by these emotional outbursts or speculations in the media. We have a laid out procedure to go, and pilot error or human error is definitely a part of that analysis.
Got it.
Yes, at the end of it, the statistics says that 90%, or sorry, 80 to 70% times, it is a human error which has resulted in the accident. But let me not say that its sentence is complete unless I say that yes, the human was involved in that error, but what is important is why did that human error happen in the first place? So that is where what is more important. So we need to we have trained the pilot to act correctly, but now there is a requirement to train the mind to act in a way that safety is always kept. So that is something that comes out in most of the accidents nowadays, that an accident was avoidable had the pilot probably not stepped into the red zone.
Which would be the most safest seat for a passenger?
Okay, in my fear of flying course, this is one question which is asked very often. So the entire length of the aircraft is safe. I will put it in very objective way. If the safest seat was in the rear, then the pilot would not have been sitting in the front. And if the safest seat was in the front, the flight attendant who mans the rear doors, they would not have been sitting there. But yes, that apart, the question arises more often because the question is about survivability. So the general thinking is that seats in the rear are more survivable. So that was the thought process all the time, because we normally find the tail portion of the aircraft intact. But that doesn't matter in an accident, because eventually what is the survivability will depend on how the aircraft impacted, what angle, how where did it impact, what was the speed, and what was the reason for the impact. Was there an explosion, or was there a fire on board? So all these factors put together, there's no safe place. The safest place is in your mind. So you have to think what seat you got is the safest. And I would say the safety is more in understanding where you're sitting and trying to figure out what is the nearest exit and the nearest the way you would probably move around from there. It is not in the seat number. And this question is getting asked more often after the Air India crash, where seat number, I think 11A.
Yeah.
Okay. So I always said that, tell my people that 11A is different on different aircrafts. So, and yes, if somebody believes in some numerology or some something of that sort, then I think you should take a seat whatever is more comfortable to you. At the end of the day, those seats are offered to you and you have option to choose them. So whatever is comfortable to you, to your mind, take that seat. But once you've taken that seat, be sure that the entire aircraft is irrespective of what seat you have taken, be sure that the entire aircraft is safe.
Got it, sir. So my last question is, what is more safer, to fly a military aircraft or a commercial aircraft?
You mean military transport aircraft or a...
Yeah, I think.
Okay, whether it's a military transport aircraft or a fighter jet, many thousand times a commercial jet is safer, for the simple reason that military aircrafts are mission oriented. So every aircraft that takes off has a mission to accomplish. Safety comes parallel, but maybe next. The mission must be accomplished. Of course, the pilots are trained to operate at very low risk margins in that place, and it's an unscheduled thing. Whatever is happening there is on the go. Transport aircraft is absolutely structured. The operation is straight and level. Minimum discomfort, and that's what one of the things that the pilots ensure, passenger comfort. So flight wise also, you are operating from a known airfield, ICAO airfield, scheduled airliners operate. So everything is taken care of there. You don't have much challenges, and if you have, the simple answer is you return back to place which is safe.
Got it.
I'll give you a simple example. The commercial aircrafts operate wherever the airfield lightings are there. Military aircrafts will operate wherever goosenecks are kept. Those we burn lanterns and put it on the runway, land, and after that, that's how we do it. So those sort of challenges will not be there in the private aircraft. Yes, one more thing when it comes to fighter jet, remember twice the speed or thrice the speed, enemy ahead of you, the weapon is loaded on a fighter jet. So you can imagine the complexity of flying a fighter is far different from what it is even on a transport aircraft, for that matter, of Air Force, or for that matter civil airliner. I would not even put them on the same plate. But yes, since you asked the question, far greater and safer to travel in a civil airliner.
Got it, sir. So thanks a lot for sharing your experiences and insight about the aircraft crashes and your own perspective about them. So I hope a lot of people will get more understanding and feel safer when they are on a flight.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Like I said initially, a factual understanding of aviation is probably required in this era where you have social media and a lot of information which is up in the air.
Okay. Thank you, sir.